All right, welcome to the Krug Show. Thursday night, always a great time to talk ball. Look who's back in the house. Sterling Bennett. Cowboys had their chances in this one, and they lose to the Eagles. Is CMC going to play? Is he hurt? What's the truth? What is the 49ers with their injuries? We'll get into Juwan Jennings and all the latest on the Niners. Let's go. Off and running on a Thursday night on the Krug Show. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Beautiful here in Northern California. Busy day. Happy Thursday, September the 4th, 9:39 West Coast. That means it's 39 minutes after midnight back east. Thanks for joining us on the Krug Show. We're brought to you by Pig at a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And they do run out, so get there early. Get some brisket chili. Tell them the Krug sent you. We're also brought to you by Sleeper. We're going to put together our Sleeper lineup. 49er football season is presented by Sleeper, the fastest-growing fantasy platform in the world. A one-stop shop. You can get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chat, season-long leagues, and, of course, Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. So just use that promo code Larry. Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions apply. We'll get into more details on that in a bit. But Thursday Night Football kicks off the NFL season, and tonight in Philadelphia, we had a very odd football game. One, Cowboys and Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champions on their home turf, celebrating last year's Super Bowl, and there was a little delay early, and all of a sudden you have Jalen Carter can't control himself, spit at which is the most vile thing you can do, really. I mean, it just shows what a low-grade person he is. He spits at Dak Prescott and gets ejected. I mean, easily one of the most selfish maneuvers I've seen on a football field in a long time. Then we got a football game where nobody stopped anybody in the first half. Then we had a weather delay in Philadelphia, of all places, because of lightning in the area and rain. And eventually the Eagles get the win. The Cowboys get the cover. And welcome to week one. Sterling, what'd you think? What was your takeaway tonight?
Dallas didn't look terrible, and Philadelphia may have got lucky. And also, how stupid can you be if you're Jalen Carter? You got baited in. Like, Dak walks over to the huddle, spits on the ground. He looks up, he smirks, and kind of like, yeah, go ahead and try me. And you spit on the guy right in front of the ref. How immature and idiotic can you be if you're Jalen Carter? He's known for these kind of things, so it isn't too shocking. But Philadelphia, I do think, escaped this one. Dallas looked a lot better than I thought they would, without Micah Parsons, I might add.
Right. The huge night for Jahan Dotson. He made a 51-yard catch. Ceedee Lamb had great statistical numbers if you're looking for fantasy value, 7 catches for 110. But it was 7 catches on 13 targets, and he dropped a couple of big ones late. Yeah. He was pointing to himself. You know, it's funny. I'm watching the game with my youngest kid who plays receiver and corner, and he's like, "Dad, it's a pretty tough catch." And I'm like, "Yeah, there's no question. These are tough catches. That's why these guys get paid millions of dollars." But it was like Lamb was trying to corral the ball. He wasn't necessarily body catching it, but both of those last. He didn't necessarily go and pluck them out of the air the way, like, let's just say Pickens did on that one along the sidelines, where it was like it's an odd angle, but he plucked it with his hands and it was in there tight. It was a beautiful catch by Pickens. Well, Lamb kind of corralled the last 2 passes and didn't catch either one. So not great for him, I guess. Adoree Jackson, by the way, for the Eagles, got yanked in the first half because he was just playing so poorly. I thought he got yanked.
I thought he had a concussion, or at least was tested for one.
Okay,
but
maybe you're right.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I thought that they just were picking on him, and that's why they took him out. But maybe you're right on the concussion. I didn't see that. But Philly gets the win, and they're on top of the football world for another night. And I guess I'll throw it to you this way, Sterling. Do you think there was a couple different football tiers this week? People kind of playing with the football tiers as far as kind of trying to evaluate the league, and it's a good time of the year to do that. But the tier that I saw had the Eagles alone on the top tier. And I know if you're basing it on the Super Bowl, that would be your takeaway. But it's not like it's not like they didn't have any defections or anything. They lost Josh Sweat. They lost Milton Williams. It's not like they haven't had any turnover. Would you say the Eagles are in a class unto themselves? Or if not, who is in the top tier? And, everybody looks at it differently.
Yeah, I think I'd probably put the Ravens and the Bills in that tier along with Philadelphia, albeit again, Philadelphia in the trenches was one of the best teams in football last year. A lot of the guys are back, but some departures, like you said, Larry. But tonight they lose Landon Dickerson. Who knows how his back's going to look like in the future? And where was A.J. Brown outside of one catch? I know it's week one. You're working things out. The Kings are getting worked out, but Philadelphia looked very beatable tonight, which it's NFC East, a rival game. There's some context behind it, but that Philadelphia team in the first half was not the exact same Philadelphia team in the second half. So right now, I would not put Philadelphia anywhere near their own tier. Like, they're not that good just yet to have that much space in between teams like Buffalo, the Ravens, and even I know we don't want to hype up Green Bay too much. Jordan Love has some question marks too, but I have a lot of high hopes for Green Bay this year, which maybe they're inching closer to that top tier in my own mind.
It's an interesting, the whole top tier thing. I mean, it depends what year you do it. Yeah. I just think this year I couldn't differentiate between any of the teams. Like, as far as, I think Baltimore's pretty good. I think Buffalo's pretty good.
Yeah.
But like, are the Chiefs still really good? Or are they, in decline? Are the Chargers ascending? Is Denver ascending? Yeah. So I kind of feel like that top tier is not a one team tier, and it's not even a 4 or 5 team tier. I think it's a gigantic top tier of teams that all have a chance, but nothing more than a chance. I mean, a real, like, for example, this is how I would separate the league. The top tier to me would be Buffalo, Baltimore, Houston, Kansas City, Denver, Chargers. Those 6 teams in the AFC. Eagles, Commanders, Packers, Lions, Buccaneers, Rams would probably be in that next, or maybe Buccaneers in that next tier. And then I mean that in that top tier, I should say. And then I would have the teams, maybe in that second tier, which would be like, 49ers, Rams, that maybe
probably
Bengals,
Atlanta, maybe
Bengals, maybe. And then to me, you've got the real dregs of the league at the very bottom, which would be the teams that you just know are not going to do it, like the Cardinals, the Saints, the Panthers. I think the Bears are in this category. Some people don't. The New York Giants, the Cowboys, and then teams. Yeah, the Colts. I mean, the Cowboys are better talent than these teams, but I mean, I just think they're these teams that have no chance. Colts, Titans, Jags, Jets. I don't know.
Dolphins.
That's like the bottom tier, and then there's some teams mixed in the middle that are kind of like, like a New England or somebody that's kind of like ascending, and they're still kind of in between tiers. But that's how I see it. I don't see it as like, oh my God, you've got the 80, it's 84 and the 49ers are the best team in football. And then, you've got a second best team in football, but those 2 teams are way better than ever. No, I don't, I think if you catch the Ravens on the right day, but They could be an elite team. But I mean, all these teams, I think, are Super Bowl contenders, but also beatable on any given Sunday. And I don't think there's a juggernaut in there. And maybe that's the impact of the cap.
Yeah, I think if you're expecting a team this year to go 15-2 or let's say 14-3, I think you're mistaken. I think you're going to see a lot of teams that are 12-5, 11-6, 10-7, be vying for the divisions and number one seeds this year. In really, the NFL, to their own credit, has a ton of parity in a good way, where there are so many playoff spots up for grabs, but also, again, seeds 1-3, 1-6 are, I think, going to be a tight knit race the entire way in both conferences. Obviously, you'll have some teams that separate, but ultimately, I do think you will have, or you won't have teams come into the playoffs 15-2 off a bye week, and you're like, wow, that's like the bona fide best team in football. I think a lot of the great teams of yesteryear have a lot of questions now. Kansas City, they're aging. Can Travis Kelce perform? What's the receiver situation? Teams like Buffalo, who I think a lot of fans expect to be great this year, their defense has some holes in the offense as well, outside of Josh Allen and James Cook. Who are the receivers out there? Who do you believe in? You like Keon Coleman, but what does he really offer to your offense this year? And even Baltimore, no matter how great they are in the regular season, always seem to falter in the playoffs because of their own undoing. So I think you're right. You're not going to have one team up the top of the NFL this year. You're going to have a big, large 10-team grouping all vying for seeds 1-6 in the playoffs.
All right, let's get to the Niners. I think most people want us to get into the 49ers. The Niners are listing Christian McCaffrey as limited today's practice due to a calf issue, according to Adam Schefter. I feel like the Niners don't have a very good track record when it comes to reporting on injuries. And then I also kind of feel like the closer we get to this is real and this, you got to get out there, you start to find out everybody's real status. And it's easy to have status, when you're in a preseason situation or practice situation, but now it's game week and it's time to like, who's going to play, who's not going to play. And the league has very stringent rules about reporting this stuff. And now, and the only reason I'm kind of dubious on this whole thing is just like a year ago, it was like Christian was not hurt until he was kind of hurt. And then all of a sudden he was hurt the whole year. And I don't know if we got the accurate story then. Then you had the 49ers trading for Brian Robinson the other day. And maybe that should have been an indication. I thought the people that were suggesting that McCaffrey might have been, less than 100% when that trade was made were like just doomsayers. But at this point, is it possible that the Niners knew that McCaffrey and this whole talk of, it's calf related. Well, you know what? The calf is awfully close to the Achilles. And this is a player that had Achilles tendonitis in both Achilles last year, did nothing but rest as far as there was no surgical anything that was done. He just rested it. And people like myself said, well, wait a second. Isn't he forever damaged? Doesn't he have to have surgery to repair that? He can just rest it. Isn't as soon as he plays football for 5 or 6 weeks, that's just going to come back? And here we are. He's played some football for a few weeks in the most least contact way you're going to have compared to the regular season. And he's having calf, could be Achilles situation. So what's your read on it?
Yeah, I thought my initial response was like to immediately panic of like, oh my God, here we go again. Like we're going to be on a week by week basis of, is CMC going to play? Is he not going to play? And, I thought San Francisco did the right thing in not playing him in the preseason, giving him what seemed like to be 2 days on, 1 day off during training camp and other days throughout practice to help alleviate the pressure off his lower body and hopefully keep him fresh for week 1. And we are, 3 days away, and that clearly has not worked. That is a big concern for me now. I know some fans out there say that, well, he was only limited in practice, and maybe that's a good sign. I would say that the fact is, on Wednesday, San Francisco listed Trent Williams out with a non-injury related thing. It was rest. They could have called it rest today, I believe, for Christian McCaffrey. They didn't do that. It was a late addition. Here's a calf injury. He didn't talk to the media. And San Francisco opened the door last year in not reporting these things to the media, to the injury reports. And it leads to speculation like this right now as to how serious is the injury for Christian McCaffrey. I think I'm with Niner fans. It's like high alert. Like we have no idea what's happening. We're in the dark. We have no idea what's going on. And we're kind of waiting to see what happens because we don't know. And that's the scary part is when you don't know, anything's possible. And that means the best possible scenario of he's fine, it's precautionary, or the worst case scenario of this is serious and it could linger his entire career.
Let's check in on the Niner fans on this one. This was RSF 49ers who put this out.
Right.
The 49ers are listing Christian as limited today. And here were the comments beneath. Am I crying or laughing? This guy said, good thing we still have Jordan Mason.
Yeah.
This guy's like, I want to die.
Yeah.
CMFK, I'm literally going to jump off a bridge. CRYS, we're just playing chess, guys, right? Steven, LOL. Phil Lee, Cavs again. Practical Woodpecker, it's over before it began. Knicks, Mets, 49ers fan says, here we go. Mo Monty, damn it, and the season hasn't even started. Chillin says, I don't think anyone is surprised. Story of his career.
Yeah.
Speed kill, calf or Achilles?
Both, maybe.
Wow. All people mixing in their emojis. This is fine. A guy pretending he's sweating from Key and Peele. More emojis.
Do you think that the fans are overreacting and it's not that big of a deal? Or are you in the camp where it's like this may be the end of it for CMC if it continues?
It's a great question. I don't know what to say about that. It's like I don't want to be negative Nelly, but at the same time, it's like,
how do you not?
This guy's always been great, but and the but has been the injuries. He's great, but I know he's one of the best backs in the league, but do I take him at first in the fantasy draft? Well, he goes down a lot. So there's, he runs kind of upright. He's asks a lot of his body. He's a great competitor, that's for sure. But he, I just think he is injury prone. I think his body's breaking down. And I don't think it's like one of those things, that you're going to be healthier, as you age. Seems like you're going to be less healthy as you age. And that seems logical. So, they love him. And I get it. I mean, Lynch and Shanahan really love him. But I mean, I wasn't crazy about the Jordan James pick. And I wasn't crazy about what I saw from Jordan James this summer, in camp. He looks all right. Doesn't look great. Doesn't look like an all-timer. Doesn't look super special or anything, Yeah. So, very concerned for the 49ers. I mean, this is like probably the one guy they really just can't afford to lose. So if they lost him, it would be a kick to the gut. There's no question about that.
When the news came out, amongst my initial thoughts was this is their most important player on offense. Like you love Brock Purdy. He can be great. He can still take you to the playoffs, I think, without Christian McCaffrey. But we saw it last year. It wasn't perfect. And obviously there's more context than without CMC in that grouping. But you remove CMC. You don't have Ayuk. You don't have DeMarcus Robinson. You can't run the football effectively as you did 2 years ago. Like the Niners offense instantly becomes hindered in a big way. Now, you like Brian Robinson a lot, but is he really an RB1? Probably not. And then do you elevate Sincere McCormick? Do you make another trade? Like it really puts San Francisco in a bind for a guy you were hoping could be maybe a glimpse of or a slimmer of that former offensive player of the year as a pass catcher, as a running back. I don't want to jump on, the bandwagon of the season's over, because it's not, it hasn't even started yet. But that's the other concern. It hasn't even started yet, and it's already a problem. And once you, let's say CMC plays week 1, every snap he takes, our eyes are going to be glued. Where is he grabbing? Is he on the ground for longer than he should be? It is going to be a wait and see every snap he's out there. And that is one of the worst feelings for the fan base. But you have to think John Lynch in the booth is probably doing the exact same thing, wondering, when is Christian McCaffrey's last snap going to be? Snap 1 or snap 300 or snap 1,000? It can happen at any time. And they're paying him big money, and they're going to need him to be who he once was a couple years ago to hopefully get where they want to be at the end of the day, which is a Super Bowl, which right now, if he's not playing, feels almost impossible.
Okay. Bottom line on this thing is you don't know if he's healthy or not, but
Right.
I do think it's a vitally important position. And when you run out of backs that are talented, you're in a bad spot for sure. This would be my idea. Even if he's healthy, I would aggressively pursue a practice squad addition, and I would cut one of my offensive linemen. You have 10 offensive linemen. Okay. You could, a lot of teams go with 8, you definitely could go with 9. You don't need Burford and Pleasance. You don't. If you lose both your tackles, you're screwed. Okay. Anyway, and Pleasance, I don't know. I'll defer to Chris as far as who he likes more between Burford and Pleasance, but I don't think you need both. I really don't. I would definitely peruse the practice squad. I'm going to share the screen because I don't just say things without thinking ahead. Of course, I have already perused the practice squad. So I'm going to show you
the Damian Martinez drop on here.
I'm going to show you my perusal. Look at Sterling. Sterling knows me well. All right. So this is the list, right? Running backs available on practice squads. Okay. And there's more than this. This is just this is just the list I came up with in my notes. So the Niners have Sincere McCormick, and he's actually not a bad option, to be completely honest. I think he's a pretty good option overall. But I would still try to add another back to my roster. Here are the practice squad backs: Frank Gore's kid, Jermichael Hasty. And these are the ones I thought were the most interesting to the Niners. They had Jeff Wilson already in here. To Ernest Johnson, I think, worked out for the Niners earlier this summer. There's Jawad Jordan from, I think, Indiana. You've got Ulysses Bentley IV from Ole Miss. Khalil Herbert, who's been in the league for a number of years. Carson Steele is an interesting name. Kansas City put him on the practice squad. He's a guy that they really love. He's kind of a cult hero in Kansas City. Chargers have Kamani Vidal. Dante Miller is a burner, 4.35, New York Giants, tiny little 5'9", small receiver, small runner, but really, really fast. Audric Estime is the opposite. He's on Philly's practice squad right now. He's not fast. He's slow, but he's a very good, kind of between the tackles guys. Donovan Edwards, the former Wolverine. Izzy Abanaconda, the former Niner, who is here. DJ Dallas, who I almost feel like he's destined to play for the Niners. He's played for every other team, I believe, in the NFC West. He's played for Seattle. He's played for Arizona. I don't know if he's played for the Rams yet, but he's making his rounds in the NFC West. There's Michael Carter. There's Cody Schrader, who's on the Rams practice squad. Jacardia Wright, and then Damian Martinez. Now, I'm a big college football fan. I watched a ton of the Hurricanes. Damian Martinez is really a good running back. Damian Martinez is a bell cow back in a lot of ways. He can carry the ball a lot. He had a very effective preseason, and they've got him on the practice squad. I immediately would create a roster spot and sign Damian Martinez to my active roster. I think that's the decisive move that I would make to try to cover myself here. One, it hurts Seattle. Two, it takes a really good runner away from them. I have no idea why they put him on the practice squad to begin with. It was a stupid move by them. They're likely to lose him, whether it be to the Niners or somebody else. He's the one guy on this list. The rest of these guys are change of pace backs. I mean, DJ Dallas could be an every down back, I guess, but most of these guys are change of pace backs. Only maybe Dallas, Khalil Herbert are really every down, pounders. But Damian Martinez is an every down back. He runs with good power. I think he's one of the best sleeper running backs in this draft. That's the guy. If I were the Niners, I would go aggressively pursue him, take him, put him on your active roster, create the roster spot somehow, and that would be my move. What do you think? I mean, do you like the idea of Martinez?
Yeah, I was going back and reading my draft notes on him coming out of this past year's draft class, and I have, of his 1,011 yards at Miami, 716 were after contact. He had 42 forced missed tackles last year, 24 explosive runs of 10 plus yards. In minus right up here, I have not a great wide receiver, but great footwork and contact balance after getting hit. Power back, wants to run through defenders. And I think for San Francisco, if you want guys that can go in between the tackles and just lay out some offensive linemen, some defensive linemen, and some linebackers, and maybe give you what Elijah Mitchell gave you in 2021, I think Martinez can do that. I don't know where Kyle would believe in him on the depth chart, but let's get a little crazy here, though, for a second. A lot of fans have been wanting to reunite Brock Purdy and Breece Hall. Why not now? Jair Brown goes to the Jets, maybe a draft pick involved. Go get Breece Hall. He's a pass catcher. He knows Brock Purdy. He would work in the offense. You already know that. And maybe that's a move you make once Malik Mustafa comes back, and you don't want to lose what seems to be your first week starting safety with Jason Pinnock back there as well. But why couldn't that be an option now for San Francisco if indeed seems his injury is going to linger all year? He's out there. He's young. His legs are fresh. Why not? Exactly.
Yeah. You might have to throw another pick in there, but I think I'd be willing to do that.
You're going to get 5 comp picks anyways. Why not?
Yeah. No, I like that. I mean, I'd be thrilled with that. By the way, here's some footage of from Corbin Smith, who I've had on the stream before, from Seahawks camp. Look at Martinez as a blocker.
Dog.
Wide base, competitive. That's a big question is, can you pass block? But to me, this is a guy, I like both our ideas. I mean, I love the idea of Damian Martinez. It's cheap, but I love the idea of Breece Hall. Heck, I mean, I'm not even opposed to both. I mean, I really believe that when you need backs, you need backs, and you got to, especially if you're losing a guy like McCaffrey, it could take multiple guys to replace him. It's a tough break for the Niners, though. How do you feel like do you think the Niners knew something about this calf / Achilles maybe with McCaffrey before they made the Brian Robinson trade?
See, that's the thing, is that with whether it's tendonitis or the calf or the Achilles, whatever it is, all it takes is one day where it could have been fine yesterday and flared up today. That's why it's so tricky. So I don't think they realized that. I think they just said, we don't really love Garendo behind Christian McCaffrey. James broke his finger. He may or may not come back. Obviously, he's back now, but there were concerns there. They needed to have some guys for the remainder of training camp to get to week 1, but I don't think the Brian Robinson acquisition was based on CMC's health. I think it was based on we don't have an RB2 behind the guy, but I think that this thing flared up this week, and that's why they were like, oh, crap, we're in trouble.
Well, they absolutely are in trouble if CMC is out for any extended period of time. Now, the other story of the day is that Juwan Jennings, it gets a nice little bump. We talked about that yesterday, actually. Here's Brock Purdy. We'll share the screen on this. Here's Brock today talking about having JJ back and what he means.
It's been like having Juwan back, and how does he look to you?
Yeah, it's been awesome. Obviously the energy that JJ brings and when he steps on the field and the dog mentality that he has, it's been great. And then dropping back and trusting in him to, be where he needs to be and picking up where we left off, it's been great. So obviously having him back has been sweet, and trying to get him in the right matchups and get him the ball and let him eat. So really excited, that he's back for our team and obviously as a quarterback, having one of my starting receivers out there. So
how quickly can you get back to where you were before you went out with injury?
I think it's been pretty smooth so far. I think the practices that we've been together out in the field, we've honestly, like I said, picked up where we left off. I think over time, over the last couple of practices, it's been really good. Just talking about some routes and things, and getting reps and throwing them some tight coverage balls, and for him to come down with them. Like it's been really good reps and timing and things that we've gotten at practice so far. So obviously we have a couple more days to get ready for this game together, and we're going to continue to hone in on the details and be ready. But obviously he's been in this situation before where he comes back from an injury and he gets put right back in and he picks up and goes. So JJ is really good with that.
Yeah, good to hear. What do you think? What kind of, will Juwan be limited? How limited? What do you expect JJ's going to give the Niners in week 1?
Yeah, I think he'll be around 90%, maybe not 100% just yet. He has practiced, twice so far this week. So I wouldn't expect a full-forced Juwan Jennings this Sunday, but he'll start against Seattle because he has to, because you're not going to toss out MVS or Russell Gage or Sky Moore out there. But, my thought about Jennings coming back was more so about how he helps you in the running game. And that might be even needed more now that Christian McCaffrey may not play this Sunday. But Happy's out there. Obviously, Purdy and Juwan have great chemistry. He loves high pointing the ball to him. So maybe you get Juwan's impact on the ground as a blocker, but maybe he has 2 or 3 catches on third down to help extend some drives, maybe get you in the end zone at some point in time. But you can tell that the offense, for how much, I'm not sure, but it does look different when Juwan's out there. Not to the impact of a healthy Deebo Samuel a couple years ago, 2023 or 2021, but the offense needs Juwan. This receiver room is thin without him, so glad he's back out there, and you can tell Purdy is too.
The other guy who was back today was Jordan Watkins. Who do you think the 5 wide receivers are going to be on Sunday?
Well, do you think Watkins will be active on Sunday? I know he practiced today, but is
it's
one
hard to
practice
say.
enough?
I mean, it's hard to say. He's dynamic. He's young. He's explosive. Yeah. It's interesting. I'm not really sure. I'm not. I would. I mean, if he was going up against somebody else, somebody who was clearly better, would be one thing. But you're talking about Russell Gage, maybe, or so it's like Sky. I mean, it's going to be JJ and Pearsall.
Right.
And Sky Moore is going to be their return guy. And then MVS and Gage, possibly.
Probably.
Or maybe MVS and Watkins. I don't know. I mean, I think that's probably the options right there.
Do they view MVS and Watkins as redundant though? Because they're going to fill that same kind of burner role. I would prefer to have Watkins out there, but Shanahan and then the receivers and rookies don't always go well in their first year. So I do wonder if MVS does get the nod over Watkins and Watkins finds himself being inactive on Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, the safe route would probably be go with the veterans. It's week 1, right? Go with Gage, go with Watkins, or go with MVS and let Watkins get another week and, let him debut in week 2 or week 3. But that's going to be interesting. That's one of the decisions that they have to make. All right, let's do our picks, our sleeper lineup. The 49er football season on the Krug Show this year is presented by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chat, season-long leagues, and of course Sleeper picks for daily fantasy games where you choose 2 to 8 players pregame or live and pick more or less on their projections. And if you're new to it, all you got to do is use the promo code Larry, Larry, and you're going to get a 100% deposit match up to $100 on your first deposit. The link is right there in the description. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, now let's make our lineup for the week. And big thanks to Sleeper for being proud sponsors of the Krug Show. All right, what we'll do here is we'll make our lineup. How are we going to do this? We're going to have our shoot our board up here. We can choose between Seahawks. Now, do you have any some ideas in your head of what Seahawks and what Niners you'd like to see?
Yeah, I think I would love to see George Kittle. I think he has 7 touchdowns against the Seahawks since 2021 and over 400 combined yards. So, whatever Kittle has, I'm taking the over on Sunday. With no Christian McCaffrey, you might as well. He seems like their number one passing option against the Seahawks this weekend.
All right, let's take a look. You got Christian McCaffrey with an anytime touchdown. I think we'll stay away from that.
Yeah, under.
I think we'll just stay away from that. Let's see Kittle here. So you got Kittle, 63.5 receiving yards. You can go an anytime touchdown on Kittle. Which one do you like there? You like him with the receiving yards or the anytime touchdown?
I think the anytime touchdown, the Seattle Seahawks literally have zero good coverage linebackers. They'll run 3 safety sets, but even then, Kittle's a big mismatch for all those guys out there. The Seahawks defense doesn't really scare me too much. I know McDonald's great, but Kittle is the ultimate mismatch for most teams on defense. So a touchdown seems likely this Sunday.
Okay, let's go with Kittle for the more than a half of a touchdown, rushing or receiving. Anytime touchdown there for Kittle. Who else? Let's how about JSN? What does JSN got? I really feel like this is Jackson Smith and the Jigba is going to have a huge year this year. Now it's interesting. This guy played in the slot all last year. And Demo played in the slot defensively all year. Now you've got Cooper Kupp. They're moving Jackson Smith and the Jigba outside, where he's going to meet up with, Demo Lenore, who's also moved outside. So this is going to be a pretty good matchup. This guy is a great route runner. I felt like the last game that the 49ers played against the Seattle Seahawks, they just couldn't cover this guy.
Yeah.
This is a really, really good receiver. I think he's on my fantasy team. I'm not just saying that because he's on my fantasy team. I handpicked this guy because I just feel like he's gonna be a volume guy. So what category do you like here for him? There's all kinds of options here.
I think he's almost guaranteed to have over 50 receiving yards on Sunday. I wonder if San Francisco deploys how they utilized Mooney Ward against DK Metcalf a couple of years back, where he'd have shadowed Metcalf the entire game with Lenore. I think the cornerback secondary receiver matchups is really going to be where this game, I think, it doesn't come down to, but is a big one for San Francisco, because is Upton Stout going to start for you? Do you see Chase Lucas play the outside and the inside? I think JSN may not be in for a massive game, but I think over 50 receiving yards is pretty almost guaranteed by this point.
I think so too. I think if you held him to 60 or 70 yards, I think that would be considered a decent day against him.
Yeah.
So let's go with that. Let's go with over 50 receiving yards or more than 50 receiving yards. Let's go. Do we have somebody else? I don't want to go with Kupp. I don't want to go with Purdy or Pearsall. Let's go Pearsall. How about Pearsall? Ricky Pearsall. Here's his breakdown: 42.5 receiving yards, 3.5 receptions. That's the one I like.
That seems really low.
Give me more than 3.5 receptions. That's a lock. I'm taking that to the bank. He's going to have at least, I would say, 7 receptions, maybe double that, maybe 6. But 3.5, definitely more than 3.5.
He may have 3 on the opening drive.
Yeah, I mean,
like he could be over in 2 drives.
This is a guy who I think Purdy's going to be able to complete passes to Pearsall, even when everybody kind of knows, hey, Purdy's going to look for Pearsall here, just because they're so much on the same page and they're very precise in what they do. So, I like that. Let's go more on Pearsall for 3.5 receptions. Should we do one more? Let's pick one more.
Let's do it.
Let's go Brock Purdy. Yeah, we'll go Brock Purdy and see what Brock's got in here. Now, Brock has averaged 227 yards per game passing in the trips to Seattle. I think the Seattle defense is going to be really a tough defense to go against on a lot of fronts. Tough to block up front, tough to get away from, especially without their top tier receivers. Even without McCaffrey, I got to think that this would be kind of a run heavy plan. So it might be a heavy Brian Robinson day. What do you think? I mean, I would say that this game is going to be both teams running the ball, fewer possessions, and Brock Purdy throwing for between 185 to 215 passing yards, something in that range. And it's kind of a muted effort as far as yards. How do you see that? Though he does like taking shots down the field, but Seahawks have a really good secondary.
Yeah, I almost want to take the over when it comes to his rushing yards over his passing yards because Brock today even said, I'm not a dual threat quarterback. I'm a pocket passer that can use his legs. I think Brock Purdy almost scores a rushing touchdown in this game that becomes a big score for San Francisco, probably in the second half at some point. So I think Purdy's legs is what helps San Francisco overcome the Seahawks defense this Sunday.
Where are his rush yards? Is that it? 12.5? There we go. More than 12.5. That could be one. That could be one. That could really could be one run. The thing with Brock too is like he is at that point where he wants to make a play badly, and if he drops back to pass and he surveys the field and everybody's covered, he'll throw a couple of those away. Right? He'll throw a couple of those away and go to the next play. But after a while, guess what? He's gonna look for that opening to run. He's too competitive. He's not gonna sit there and be like, here we go. We're gonna punt. We're gonna punt again. We're gonna punt again. He's more competitive than that. So I do think this is gonna be a tough game. I think it's gonna be a low-scoring game. I think there's gonna be 2 or 3 or 4 avenues for him to run. I think he's gonna take them. I would say he has over 20 rushing yards. So I like that. All right, let's do it. Let's put those 4 together. We can, if we go 4 for 4, we're going to win $87.40. Nice. Off a $10 wager. Big thanks to Sleeper. Remember to use the code Larry for 100% deposit match up to $100. Links right in the description. Terms apply. It helps support the show and gets you rolling on the #1 sports app. Man, what I love about Sleeper is just it's so fun. I mean, you can go through this and check any game, and just if you're into daily fantasy, and I mean, to me, this is the best of the daily fantasy options. You get one, it's really easy, but it's a lot of fun, and they've got some probably the most comprehensive list of options for per player, and it's just a great time, man. To me, DFS has become like an absolute regular every week, and I wager every week in the NFL. I've got fantasy options going every week in the NFL, and I've got DFS lineups going every week in the NFL, and it's awesome. It's so much fun.
It has become a weekly, daily event for me to check Sleeper, figure out who I want to pick this week, and not tell my wife how much money I'm making or losing at the end of the day. But besides that, we're having a good time. Football's back, and so is the Sleeper app. Helping us out during the football season this year, making some big money, hopefully, betting on the San Francisco 49ers.
Thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. Once again, the links are in the description below. All right. What do you expect? Let's get back to Niners Seahawks. Let's really hammer down on Niners Seahawks. This is the last time you and I will talk before the kickoff on Sunday. What are you expecting? What's your big fear? Do you have a idea of how you think this game is going to go? I talked about it today on KMBR with the round table. We had a nice little round table out in Oakland, and my whole thing, Sterling, is just that I think Seattle's going to come out and just try to absolutely run it down the Niners' throat. And if the Niners aren't ready for it, they're just going to run it and run it and run it and run it, and they're going to be relentless. That's my big fear, is that Seattle runs the 49ers off the field, and the Niners, get back on the bird to come home going, man, we can't stop the run, even though they devoted their entire top of the draft to doing exactly that.
Yeah, when Shanahan mentioned earlier in the week that the defensive line was kind of a concern for him, that raised some red flags with myself. So hearing you say that, and then also hearing Kyle say that, I think, yes. I don't know exactly how much Mike Williams plays or Alfred Collins plays or even CJ West plays, because 2 of the 3 of those guys didn't play through the majority of the preseason. So San Francisco may want to kind of ease them back in, which that could mean you see Samuel Kawanu and Bryce Huff and those guys play more, which aren't ideal run defenders. Maybe you have Kalia Davis and Jordan Elliott start for you, which again is not ideal. So I think this game will be dependent on how San Francisco adjusts, because you're right, Larry. Seattle, they were 10-7 last year. They believed they should have been in the playoffs. They missed it because of a tiebreaker. They want to come out here, run it down San Francisco's throat, and basically say, we dare you to stop us. If San Francisco can adjust and make the right changes and plays to hopefully stymie Seattle's rushing offense, that'll even out this game, I think. But one of my other concerns for San Francisco, really, again, it comes down to how they scheme against the Seahawks passing offense, because I don't know exactly who they're going to match up with. JSN, Cooper Kupp, and Torrey Horton Jr., who had a really good preseason out there in Seattle. Do they have Lenore shadow JSN the entire game? That seems likely. How do they utilize Stout? Do we have to see Darrell Luter Jr. in this game? That's also an option where if they're moving guys around, he's going to get picked on a ton. So this will be a definitive chess match between Kubiak and Saleh and Shanahan and McDonald. So really, really interesting to see how those coaching's decisions come out and work themselves out this Sunday.
The Niners have so many real concerns, and not that this one's not real, but it almost puts the Jake Moody concern on the back burner. But I still have obviously a huge concern for Moody. He was awful last year. He made just 70.6% of his field goals, 90% of his PATs, and then he followed that up by being, incredibly inconsistent in camp. He had a couple wild preseason games. I don't know. What's your confidence level in Jake coming into the season?
Negative 5,000. There's none in Jake Moody. Does he have the leg? Sure, but he's inaccurate. He's inconsistent. At times, he seems like a head case where I think this game will be close. On the high end, I have it being 27-23, but within that, there's a real chance that Jake Moody shanks a kickoff. Seattle gets the football at the 45-yard line, 1.5 minutes left, and they have a short field. They march down it, and they score a game-winning touchdown. So really, kind of like Christian McCaffrey, if he's injured, you're watching every single snap. What's going to happen is you're going to get upright and be okay, or go down and be out for a while. With Jake Moody, whenever he trots out there, it is bite your nails, hold your breath, and is hold on for dear life, buckle up, because you have no idea where that ball is going to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's a good thing it's on Sunday, it's because there'll be lots of prayer, that's basically what he needs at this point, is just our prayers. Brock Purdy, is he going to be safe behind this offensive line? I really think Brock Purdy could have a very, very good year, even with the turnover at receiver. If he can get a little bit of protection. The 49er offensive line is the oldest offensive line in pro football. I'm not a big fan of Brendel at the pivot, and you got Trent Williams, who's Hall of Famer, but in the twilight. Is this offensive line going to be is it no issue, a minor issue, or a major issue?
I wouldn't say major issue. That said, the Mike Macdonald defense is very Vic Fangio-esque. And the way he disguises his blitz remind me somewhat of Brian Flores, and that gave this offense a lot of fits last year when they were in Minnesota. They used 3 safety sets, and they're going to disguise blitzes. They'll even disguise press coverage at time, and San Francisco doesn't have a lot of those guys that can beat press coverage, but also this offensive line not really having a ton of time playing together. What's the chemistry going to be like? Ben Barch finally being a starter. How does that look like? Dominic Pooney, he was injured all before last week. How does he look in his debut this year? And then, of course, you have Trent, who you love him, but he's 36, 37 years old. How long does he have left? I think McDonald, to me, the motto for the Seahawks on Sunday will be attack, 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 attack. Attack on defense, attack on offense. They're going to have a full frontal aggressive approach to coming at San Francisco. And I think if you're the Niners, you have to really this could be a Kittle inline tight end game where he's helping McKivitz out a lot, which wouldn't, kind of fare well for them. But I do think it is a concern. Is it a high level one? Maybe not, but definitely one to watch.
It's, to me, this game is really interesting on a lot of fronts because you just don't know what's real and what's not. Some people look at Seattle as a juggernaut who's feeling themselves with all kinds of confidence in the preseason. Other teams look at them as the worst team in the division. Some teams look at the Niners as a Super Bowl contender that just needed to get healthy. Other people see them as a rebuilding team. The 49ers won 6 games last year, and they won 6 games in 2020, and they led the league in injuries in both years. And I would imagine if they lead the league in injuries this year, they may win 6 or 7 games again. My concern in this game is, do the 49ers under Shanahan seems like he likes to have freedom offensively. He doesn't like to have constraints. But I kind of feel like if they're going to go with this young defense, they're really going to need to play complementary football. And that means long drives, controlling the clock, keeping the defense on the sideline, protecting the young defense, I think has got to be high up on the list. How likely do you think it is that the Niners play complementary football and, dominate the time of possession in this game?
I don't think they'll dominate it by any means. I think this will be close. I think you'll see a near split or a one drive difference, which that can be a lot of time, but I don't think it'll be much. I think if you're asking Kyle to somewhat play it safe, I don't think that's out of the question. However, this offense last year had its own struggles to put the ball in the end zone. So I think Kyle almost has to be aggressive in his approach to offense this year to almost overcome the issues they had last year on offense and will have this year with the receiver issues they have and the now CMC being injured. But even on defense, like you want to overcome maybe a young defense that struggles, you have to score some points. I get it, long drives, play takeaway, but you can do that and still score field goals. And if you can't score field goals, which sometimes they can't, being aggressive may be the approach they take this year. So a lot's up in the air, and that includes how Kyle takes his offense and the approach he has against the Seahawks this Sunday.
Lynch was like, "Hey, last year we got punched in the mouth, and we have to respond." What do you think? I mean, what kind of year do you anticipate for the 49ers?
Is that with Christian McCaffrey playing half the season? Because it kind of depends.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I'm always anticipating that you're going to get about 8 to 10 games max out of McCaffrey.
Okay.
I was hoping that they could get to the finish line with a healthy McCaffrey, but it just seems so it seemed unrealistic this summer. But it's now knowing that he's already, he has barely played. Yeah. He's barely played and he's already having calf issues, and he had Achilles tendonitis in both Achilles last year. It seems awfully close. I don't know. To me, it just seems like it's probably a return of the Achilles tendonitis, and he's probably going to get worse and worse and worse. And I would say he's probably not going to be, the Christian of old ever again. That would be my guess.
So with that understood, I think a 9-7 season or 9-8 season sounds right. I had them being 10-7 coming into the year, but I think 9-8 sounds about right now. If Christian misses half a year, I think that's a pretty, like, being 9-8 puts you in the running for a wild card, may not get you there, but I think San Francisco will be in the running at some point in time this season. They may fall off late, but I think you're going to have teams like Tampa Bay and Houston and the Rams and the Seahawks, and honestly, even the Cardinals, for as maybe as downtrodden as they have been in previous years, they're a wild card, literally and figuratively. Like, Kyler can go for 400 yards and 5 passing touchdowns on a week and then throw three interceptions, and you're like, what happened? So I think 9-8 makes the most sense for this team right now. having the CMC update, but I just think this team has maybe one of the highest potentials in the entire league, but also has a very, very, very low floor. So it's all up in the air, but 9-8 sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, if today is an indication that they're not going to have Christian for a big chunk of the year, then I think, yeah, I mean, you're probably looking at more middle of the pack kind of a run, more like, as you said, 9-8, 9-8, 8-9, something like that. If indeed Christian's going to miss the year, how good do you think Brian Robinson can be in this offense? I'll say this: I took him on my fantasy team late. Something tells me I'm going to have to put him in the lineup this week. What do you think he's going to do this week?
If he is the bell cow back, if he is the primary ball carrier, he'll probably be in the end zone at some point in time. I don't know how many yards he gets. I don't know if San Francisco then reverts back to using Isaac Guerrero. He seems like he's the RB4, but he does have experience over Jordan James. It just, I like Brian Robinson a lot. I think he can carry the load to get you to a returning Christian McCaffrey if he is indeed out for a long time. But I think he had 6 straight touchdowns last year, like 700 yards, 800 yards. Like, that's a good player that can help you out offensively. But in a room of guys that you like, say, the elite running backs, he's nowhere near that, but he's a serviceable back to help the offense out.
Safety. We haven't gotten to that yet. Before we get to the supers, why don't we hit the safety spot? Shanahan was non-committal. A lot of people think it's going to be Jason Pinnock. It's going to be one of the starting safeties. The opposite safeties are going to be Jair Brown, Marquise Siegel. I do get the sense we're going to see both no matter what. But who do you think draws the start? The rookie
I think it's Jair Brown.
Or Brown?
I think it's Jair Brown. I think, week 1, let's say you're starting Michael Williams and you're starting Upton Stout. You want to have 2 rookies in the secondary. You want to have, 4 or 5 rookies on your defense to begin the year. I don't think San Francisco wants to do that. They usually have a safe approach. Start 1 or 2 rookies and that's it. I think Siegel, for as good as he looked in the preseason, the coverage, there are some issues there. Whether Jair Brown's better, I don't know. Probably not. But I do think they'll play it safe on the back end, try not to get burnt early in this game to help preserve them late against Seattle's offense.
All right, before we hit our supers, I want to tell you about our sponsor, Habbas Law. Habbas Law, fantastic sponsor of the Krug Show. I love these guys. Today's show is sponsored by Habbas Law for more than 40 years. The Habbas Law firm, Omar Habbas and his son Tarek, have been standing up for people right here in the Bay Area. And they're fierce. They're relentless attorneys. They don't back down until justice is done. These guys have a lot of experience. They've battled insurance companies and they've beaten insurance companies through the years. And they know the playbook because they've been battling and winning against these insurance companies for years and years and years. And they're rooted here in the Bay Area, Northern California, which is where we're coming to you from as we sit here. They're partners with the Giants, the Earthquakes, the Sharks, San Jose State, Santa Clara. So if you need someone in your corner, trust me, man, you want to make sure that you have a top flight attorney. They're the best. Call the firm. Insurance companies hope you don't call Habbas Law. They're going to fight to make it right. Their website is habbaslaw.com, HABBAS law.com. I don't talk about my life and my family that much on the show, but my dad, my late father, was an attorney for years and years. He worked in the San Francisco City Attorney's Office for almost 40 years, and loved the city of San Francisco and loved the law. Went to USF Law School. My brother also followed in his footsteps. He went to USF Law School and is now a judge up in Sacramento. And my sister went to Hastings Law School and was a lawyer for Chevron, and now is no longer practicing, living back east with her family. But so lawyers have always been a big part of my life, and I know a good one when I see one. That's for sure. So what I love about Omar and Tarek is that they're absolutely rooted in the Bay Area, and they're really solid people. So great guys. Once again, habbaslaw.com. 1-800-INJURED, Habbas Law. They will fight to make it right. Great people, great firm. I can't recommend them any higher than that. And thanks to Habbas Law for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, let's jump to our supers, and we have some here. Joseph Ernberg in the house says Watkins will have a 1,000-yard season. I'm calling it right now. I'm with him. I think Watkins is going to have a really good year. What do you think of Watkins?
I think he is the most impressive mid-round wide receiver they've taken since 2017. Obviously, you've had guys like Danny Gray and Dante Pettis and other guys that have been okay and also terrible at the same time. But I think 1,000 yards is a lot. I think there's questions as to if Pearsall reaches that mark. But Jordan Watkins, I like him a lot. I think he moves well. The routes are fluid. They're crisp. Great contested catch rate or in college last year. He got better when Trey Harris went out. I think he's a reliable guy deep downfield. I think for Purdy, who does look deep downfield a lot and wants to throw the deep ball, he and Watkins found each other a lot during training camp and during the OTA session. So I like the optimism, but 1,000 yards is a lot of yards for what seems to be right now the 5th wide receiver on the roster.
Yeah, 1,000 yards might be a lot, but I will say this. I agree with Ernberg. I think this guy's going to be a revelation. I really believe that Jordan Watkins is going to be unlike most rookie receivers. In fact, the 2 rookie receivers that I think have a great chance, well, there's more than 2. I like Luther Burden with the Bears quite a bit as well. But the 2 other receivers are the Ole Miss guys, Trey Harris with the Chargers and Jordan Watkins with the Niners. I just really believe Ole Miss had a very polished pro-style system. They did it in the best conference in college football, and they're not going to be wowed by the NFL. And both Harris and Watkins have had impressive summers for their respective teams. So I like that from Ernberg. Ernberg jumps in here again. He says, hate to say, but CMC needs to think about his future. I don't know if he's got a big future, to be honest.
You can call Habbas Law. You never know.
Yeah, there you go. They can rep him. Joseph Ernberg, pig in a pickle will fix CMC right up. There you go. Yeah, that's all he needs. What does CMC need more than ever? He needs good smoked brisket.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
On my channel, I will get folks that comment just pig in a pickle. Well, that's great. That's great.
Seriously, out of nowhere, pig in a pickle. We get this one from Fareed Khan, new member. Always get a little mini clap for the new member.
Awesome.
There we go. Calvin Hobbs. Is that Calvin's Hobbs? Calvin's Hobbs. Why did they trade Mason? Now they are flailing. You know, it's interesting. You can never have enough good running backs. But they traded Mason because they really couldn't afford Mason. They traded Mason because his cap number was going up, and he probably needed a change of scenery. They made a great deal. They, with the money they saved and the pick they got Marquise Siegel, and then they also turned around and used that pick and traded it, the same round pick for Robinson. So in a lot of ways, they got Siegel and Robinson for Mason. So that's a pretty good. I think the Niners really did nicely there, but I understand that because I think Mason's going to have a good year. People are going to look at that and go, whoa, what about Mason? What about Mason?
I think that definitely comes into play now that Christian McCaffrey is injured for how long, who knows? Maybe he's not hurt at all, whatever it may be. But I think Brian Robinson is a better player than Jordan Mason. A better pass protector, better pass catcher.
Receiver, yeah.
Like, he's just a better player overall to a point where, you want CMC to be healthy, but I trust Brian Robinson more than I would if Jordan Mason was still here.
2 last thoughts, and then we'll bolt for the door. Why are Seahawk fans not into the Seahawks anymore? Why do the 49ers in week 1 have 53% of the tickets sold for Lumen Stadium in Seattle? I had Dave Softy Mahler. I taped an interview with him, and I'm like, Dave, what's the deal? He's like, there's a lot of things to do up here. What? What are you going to rent a lifeboat and float on the Puget Sound? I mean, what are you talking about? You don't think there's anything to do here in Northern California. There's things to do everywhere. I mean, I that's just such a cop out. But what do you? I mean, this is a franchise that hangs a flag for the fans, the 12th man, their incredible fan base. And week 1, year 2 of the Mike McDonald regime, it was not like he had a bad first year. They won 10 games. They won, they were 10-7 his first year. I don't know. To me, that's odd. What do you make of the Niners? What do you make of the Seahawks not selling out their home opener and having all these empty tickets? But what do you make of Niner fans and their unbelievable traveling capabilities?
Well, first, Niner fans are great. Sometimes their opinions are a little shaky, but they're great. They travel well. They always had. The faithful, that name does ring true for the fan base. I know sometimes it's hard to beat when the team is not playing well, but they love their 49ers, and it seems like more than the Seattle Seahawks fans like their Seahawks. The 12th man, I don't want to say is no more, but week 1, it's not going to be there too much. I think Vivid Seats had it at 53% Niner fans, which is crazy. It's great wild for the 49ers, but does the not having Pete Carroll there matter? Not having Geno Smith, who the fan base really loved, not buying into Sam Darnold? You would think they would give these guys a chance because there's a good chance they do win this Sunday against San Francisco. So maybe the Mariners being the playoff hunt, that matters too, but football is king everywhere. It's available. So I don't know what's happening in Seattle. I have no idea.
To me, that is unbelievable that they hang a flag for their fans and 53% of week 1. I mean, it would be one thing if it was like week 18, right? Because the Niners are going to host them week 18. And I guarantee you, if the Seahawks are some 12-win surprise and the Niners go win 6 games and are super injured, there'll be all kinds of Seahawk fans at that disastrous finale with the Niners wearing the black unis.
Yeah.
But that's going to be week 18. You know what I mean? And it's like the Niner fans at that point will know the narrative on the season. This game's either going to be, a meaningless game because they're already in, or it's going to be a meaningful game. Or it's going to be a meaningless game because the season's long gone. But I don't know. I have a hard time. Dallas, there's some years where Dallas fans have bought way, way too many seats at Levi's. And that gets annoying. But man, it seems like the Niners, everywhere they go to Dallas, they own it. They go to the Rams, they own it. SoFi, it doesn't matter. Arizona,
Jacksonville.
Heck, I can remember Brock Purdy's week 1 win over the Steelers. And I heard in the fourth quarter at Heinz Field, "Let's go Niners," loudly coming across the television. I'm like, guys, can you hear that? "Let's go Niners." This is Heinz Field. So, to me, it's just absolutely amazing. All right. Finish this sentence. The 49ers will win big on Sunday if
Christian McCaffrey's healthy.
Okay. I was going to say the 49ers will win big on Sunday if Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold and throws multiple interceptions.
Seeing ghosts.
Yeah. If Sam Darnold, Mr. Seeing Ghost and interception prone, going back to USC, if he does what Sam Darnold always seems to do, I like the 49ers to win big.
Do you think is your confidence level walking into this game, like the difference of Nick Sorensen coaching this game and Saleh coaching this game, to me does give me a lot more confidence, obviously, but when it comes to hopefully turning Sam Darnold back into a pumpkin, who he was against the Rams in the playoffs and against the Lions late last season, I do have some confidence that Darnold, the lights may be a little too bright for him. Former team, Saleh's back. It does seem like that this game may not fare well for him against San Francisco, who in their own right have some questions, but we don't really know who Darnold is. We think we know, but we don't really know.
I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair. Was his success in Minnesota about Addison and Jefferson and their line?
Kevin O'Connell, who's probably the best pass caller in football right now.
Right. Or was it Sam learning and getting better and maybe copying Purdy and learning some structure from Shanahan and applying it in Minnesota. I mean, I guess we'll find out. I just think that he kind of, he kind of fell back at the end into what he is, which is a turnover prone guy is just isn't nearly careful enough with the football. Let's finish with this. There's an awful lot of talk going into this game about Juwan Jennings. A lot of talk about Christian McCaffrey. A lot of talk about a number of different guys. Who will we be talking about on Monday? Who do you think we are most likely to be talking about on Monday? I have somebody that I think we're going to be talking about on Monday.
How about D. Winters?
Okay. Tell me why.
I think with how the Seahawks offense is currently orchestrated, they don't really have a deep threat. JSN's kind of that, but he is better operating in the slot. You can certainly get into Torrey Horton, but Elijah Arroyo has almost no speed. They want to keep things contained. It's a Kubiak/Shanahan offense. It's all going to be towards the middle of the football field. I know our eyes go towards Fred Warner. He's an all-pro for a reason, but Winters coming in, supposed to have a big year 3, a big step up this year. How about an INT for Winters to kick off his big third-year jump in this defense? Get the guys rocking out there, and why not have it happen early? Set the tone. D. Winters, go ahead and thumb some dudes around. Go ahead and knock Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker down a few times. Get up flex. Don't get penalized, though, like Nolan Smith did tonight against the Dallas Cowboys. But I got D. Winters as a standout this Sunday.
You know what? I think the 49ers, I think this game's going to be riveting to watch. One, I think both teams are going to try to come out and establish the line of scrimmage, run the ball, and I think both teams will have a modicum of success doing so. But I think it's also going to be about big plays, because I think a young defense is likely to have some busted plays.
Yep.
And when you have young defensive talent like the Niners have, they make plays, and they're going to run into some big plays. So I'm going to say this game's going to be about some big plays. It's going to be a battle to see who can run the ball and kind of control the clock, control the tempo. But the guy that we're going to be talking about on Monday, I think, is going to be Bryce Huff. And we have not talked very much about Bryce Huff. And Bryce Huff is, I was in the locker room the other day, and Demo's holding court over here, and there's a big crowd. Bosa's holding court over there. There's a big crowd. Warner's holding court in front of his locker. I had to literally put my arm up, trying to get my camera over the top. And here's Bryce Huff walking relatively anonymously through the locker room. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? This guy has the ability to have 2.5 sacks in week 1 and just absolutely show that he's a menace, and that I think he's ideally suited for this wide 9. I think his struggles really were about the fact they weren't about anything other than the fact that it wasn't the right scheme for him. I think this is the right scheme for him. And I think he is going to, Lucas and Cross, I think, get beat in this game by Bosa and Huff. And I think that's the equalizer. I think the Niner DBs are going to have some problems. They're going to have some busted plays. They're going to have some plays where their key third downs, there's way too much room, and the cover and the pass completion was just way too easy. But they're also going to get, I think, some big-time edge rush from Bosa and Huff, and it's going to lead to an interception. It's going to lead to some big plays, and it's going to lead to some sacks. So I think Bosa's going to have a bounce-back year, and a main reason is Huff. I think Huff is going to be a double-digit sack guy. We haven't talked much about him, but he's still in one-on-ones against Denver, against the Raiders, even against the Niner players. Guys whiff on this guy. He's very, very fast out of his stance. I'm going to say Bryce Huff has a monster first week and kind of sets it up like even if it's in a loss, I could see Bryce Huff having a huge impact off the edge.
He is the hired mercenary on that defense, brought in to be a third down pass specialist. I don't know how much Mike will play. I'm hoping a lot, but we just don't know yet. So you could see Huff play a little more than he's supposed to this Sunday. But even if he doesn't on third downs, which you hope this defense can get the Seahawks offense into a lot, this weekend. Bryce Huff, I don't think Charles Cross has played a single snap in the preseason, which does it matter? Does it not? Who knows? But catch somebody off guard early. It could do some damage for San Francisco's defense. So I like that pick a lot.
Sterling, I'm glad you're here because you can answer this question. Ryan Holmes says, how do you see the new OT rules impacting the season? More ties?
Why not? What are the new rules now?
I have no idea. I was going to ask you. I figured I'd put you on the spot since Ryan put me on the spot. Ryan, what is the new OT rule that we're not aware of? I maybe the length. I don't know. Did they shorten the length of the OT? I don't know.
I don't think anything changed.
Ryan, I hate to even take your $4.99. If I could reverse it back to you, I really would. I would if I could, Dikembe Mutombo. Oh, we could not answer Ryan's question. We one super chat per show. We return to the fans if we cannot answer their questions. I guess my answer is check with me next week after I investigate. I guess I'm an honest man to the bitter end, Ryan. That's all I can say. I won't make up something just to have a nice pithy reply in a short amount of time. So I apologize there. Good stuff. Sterling, tell people if they haven't followed you on social media or they're not following you on YouTube. We're co-streaming tonight. This is on my channel and Sterling's channel. Sterling, tell people about your channel, how long you've had it, and where they can go and find you.
Yeah, I've had the channel for a couple of years now, but definitely have gotten more into it the last 2 seasons, including this one as we talk now. But it's called 49ers Access. It's also the name of my social media. 49ers_access is the X or Twitter, and 49ers.access is the Instagram. But we cover everything. Practices, training camps, games, and he may even dive more into that Breece Hall trade we talked about in this show. So there's a tease there for the folks at home.
I like that. I think it's a great idea as well. If you missed it at the beginning of the show, we were talking about McCaffrey being out, and I was saying, hey, maybe the Niners ought to peruse some practice squads. And I was saying if it was me, I would clear a spot on the roster today and go after Damian Martinez, who's on the Seahawks practice squad. Put him on your active roster. I think he's good enough. He's tough. He had a good preseason, tons of yards after contact. Sterling had that stat. And then Sterling threw out, hey, maybe the Niners ought to call up the Jets and maybe work a Jair Brown trade and see if they could possibly get Breece Hall back, who's a 4-3, back from Iowa State, and you could reunite Brock Purdy and Breece Hall. That would be very popular. I think both ideas are really, really strong and something that if I was John Lynch, I would definitely want to consider. We have one last super on the way out, or 2 last supers. This one from Josh Macias. He says, Grant mentioned a 5-man front at practice this new. Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing that the last few weeks is that the 49ers are demonstrating kind of a 5-man surface with 3 down linemen. Almost looks like a 4-3 look, but with instead of the stand-up defensive ends, stand-up outside linebackers in a 3-4, you actually have 5 guys with their hand in the dirt, 3 interior guys, and then Huff and Bosa off the edge. I could see it. I mean, they're not – the one thing about Robert Saleh and Gus Bradley, they are not going to sit back, even though they have got a young defense. They're not going to sit there and go, oh, well, I guess we're just going to get gashed. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to try everything. They're going to, run blitzes and 5-man fronts, and, they're going to try things. I mean, they're not going to just sit there and die and wither. So yeah, you might see some 5-man fronts. What do you think of the concept of that, Sterling, going with the 5-man front in this game if Seattle starts to really gash the Niners?
Why not? Why wouldn't you want to have Bosa, Alfred Collins, Micah Williams, whether it's Samuel Kawanu, Bryce Huff, or Clea Davis out there, Jordan Elliott too? Saleh, unlike Nick Sorensen last year, who just said, all right, guys, go figure it out yourself. Saleh will put these guys in the right places at the right time. He'll use stunts. He'll use these exotic fronts to confuse opposing offenses. And I think, you drafted 3 defensive linemen for a reason. Get creative and use all of those guys at the same time. So, Saleh, he hoards defensive linemen. It's why Robert Beal is still on the roster. He likes to have 11, 10 of those guys to keep around, and he'll use every single one of them if he can. So not surprised there at all.
We've got Kuja Sim saying, I drafted CMC in the first round. Will he be in the IR? Well, that's all premature. No indication.
I wouldn't have done that either if I was you.
Yeah, I mean, I drafted Brian Robinson late just because I thought CMC was, and I wouldn't have. I had the 12th pick in the fantasy draft, so I was no chance of CMC. But yeah, I wouldn't have taken CMC first if I'd had the first pick in the fantasy draft. Probably would have gone with like Jamar Chase or
that's what I was going to say.
Bijan Robinson, maybe, I don't know, one of those two guys. Techman03, any new update on CMC? An overreaction or an underreaction? Well, I think it's a precautionary thing more than anything. But it's a major concern. It's a major concern because we seem to be getting more negative medical information as we get close to the actuality of having to actually play the game, which makes you feel like maybe the rest of it was just a bunch of kind of, hey, let's have this on the report so we don't have to answer questions. I don't know. The NFL is very particular about their rules when it pertains to injury and revealing them publicly. But, I mean, how could you not think for a guy like McCaffrey, who's been glass, who had missed all kinds of time last year in a very kind of, oh, he's out. Oh yeah. He's out a lot. Oh, he's out almost all year, and now here we are right about to play. We've been told he looks great. He looks fantastic. He's never looked better. He's going to, and now what, 72 hours before opening kickoff, he's limited. And it's like, you just get the feeling that it's like, all right, let's stop pretending. And now let's get real. That's what it seems like to me. I'm very concerned, actually. Very concerned.
It's pretty ironic that what at the time felt like, wow, San Francisco has nobody out. 53 guys are practicing on Wednesday to the most important guy may not be there week one. That to me is a major concern for San Francisco.
That's going to do it for us. We're an hour and 21 minutes into the stream. Thanks to Sterling. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to our sponsors. If you could hit like and subscribe on both channels on your way out the door. I'll be back tomorrow morning streaming at 9:15 from Levi's with Damon Bruce, and then 10:45 from Levi's with Chase Sr. Also, I'll be back tomorrow night for Niners Nightly, and the great John Chapman will be joining me on Niners Nightly, and then catch me on 49er Forecast on Saturday. And the great Dave, well, he's not great at all. He's actually pathetic. The pathetic Dave Softy Mahler will no, I'm just joking, Dave. I love you. But he does have a Star Wars collection, so that is kind of pathetic. And he will be joining us. He'll be putting his Princess Leia costumes away for a half hour, and he'll join us on the radio to talk about the Niners and the Hawks. So look forward to that. Saturday for 49er Forecast, and then join me on the pregame and the postgame on KMBR with Adam Copeland and John Dickinson, talking Niners on game day. And then, of course, when it's all done, I will have a full Krug show, 49er recap show, postgame show with myself, Kev, Frank, Danny, Rye, all the OGs in the house on Sunday. So, Sterling, awesome to see you, man. I'll give you the final word. It's been a great stream, and we'll do this again. Your final thought before we bolt for the door.
Larry, thanks for having me on once again. Hope we can do it soon. Maybe whenever you have time, I'm free. And also, thanks to the entire chat. You guys have been great. And Larry, as always, go get yourself a pig in a pickle. It's the best brisket in the nation. I'll put it that way, I guess.
There you go. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Thanks to Sterling. Thanks to all you guys. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been